You run data.com at Salesforce.com, and you guys recently launched, and it's kind of it's a new vision for how Salesforce is going to exist in the cloud, and a new level of openness in bringing in lots of data sources. So can you give a sense of what this looks like now versus what Salesforce looked like just a few years ago?
So if you really think about 5-7 years ago with Salesforce, people were really thinking of Salesforce as a Salesforce application and the data specifically with that. And you've seen recently with Dreamforce and the social enterprise really about how open Salesforce is, how broad it is, and all the data that people are consuming, not just within Salesforce, but accessing from all these multiple sources like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn.
So if I'm a salesperson, let's say I'm in pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
A few years ago, I was using Salesforce to track who I was selling into, who my accounts were. You guys bought Jigsaw.
Correct.
That opened it up. Right now,
Absolutely.
I could see perhaps contacts that I didn't have, but someone else had that were up to date. And what can I see now?
Well, I think a couple things. I think the launch of data.com was really about trying to bring all of the sources of business information that a salesperson or company needs. So Jigsaw was a company we acquired a year ago. It's been amazingly successful. There's now over 30 million business contacts available there. What you can now see, we announced with data.com the partnership with D&B. You can see all the information you need on the companies you're selling to, how they're related, all their attributes, their growth, et cetera, the information on those companies. And with the social profiles and the linkage to Facebook and Twitter, we can understand what these companies or people that you're targeting are saying online. So not just what I call identifying the invisible man, but also sort of listening to what was once an invisible voice.
So is a sales guy going to call me and know that I had a baby 6 months ago because he saw my Facebook page?
Hopefully not.
Okay, because that sounds creepy.
Yeah, it is a little creepy.
How do you deal with the issue of noise? I mean, you're talking really about Twitter and Facebook, and with what Salesforce is doing in Chatter, I've talked to people who've launched Chatter, and one of the complaints is like, it's really noisy at first. I mean, then they tweak it, refine it, it gets better. But data is only useful if you can find it.
Sure.
You can find the right data.
My sense is, one is, how do you bring the data sources together so that people can understand how does this work? Because there's a ton of data on people or companies. So in one place, can I get the data that I need? And then secondly, how do we provide the level of filters or analytics? And so if you think about Chatter, and if you looked at it lately, there's a ton that's been done allowing people to decide what they want to see, how do they filter, what's relevant to them. And then secondly, if you think about the acquisition of Radiant6, and why that's been so successful, is really, there's the huge Twitter fire hose. But how do I provide the right level of analytics or right filters to understand what's relevant to me? How do I make sense of that data? Right? And so that's a lot of what we're doing, and I think you're starting to see a lot of innovation in the applications of Salesforce. At Dreamforce, we talked about a brand new interface, which is really the world's going mobile and touch.
Right.
And how do you bring the touch metaphors together, and how do you bring through this information? So even though there's a lot of information, our ability to grok that information usually fits within a screen. And so we're spending a lot of time on that.